Let's take a look at side-side angle and use the law of sines to solve for this triangle. And let's talk about how we know that it's going to have one solution. Now, I know that when we did congruence of triangles, we know that SSA isn't good enough. And this also has a level of ambiguity. We just need to make sure we look at the triangle and see if it has one or two solutions, meaning there might be two triangles that are possible with the side lengths and angles that we were given. So here's the triangle we are given. How do we know it's side-side angle? Well, we have a side, followed by a side, followed by an angle. You could also call it angle side-side. That would equally work. But the real question is, does this have one or two solutions? So side-side angle is either going to have one or two solutions, depending on the triangle you're given. All right. Step one, make sure you follow these steps. Label the angle A, the opposite side A, and the other side B, just for consistency's sake. So in other words, the angle they give you and the opposite side attached to it, in this case 22 is opposite 42, I'm going to call little a, and then whatever the other side is, call it little b. Okay. Obviously when we do that, we can see that this will be big B, this will be big C, little c. Step two, write out what you know. You know big A is 42, little a is 22. Little b is 12. So here's why we want to be consistent with that. Here's how you tell whether or not it has one or two solutions. You want to look at the angle, the side opposite the angle that they gave you. In other words, A, which is 22. All right. And you want to compare that with the other side, the side that's not opposite an angle they gave you. So B is 12, is not opposite an angle they gave you. Now, if that side is bigger, if the side opposite the angle that's given is bigger, so in other words, if A is bigger than or equal to B, then it's going to have one solution. Okay, 22 is greater than or equal to 12, so there will be one solution. All right, now if it was less than 12, let's say 10, there'd be two solutions, and we'll talk about that in the next video. So this one has one solution because, again, the side opposite the angle they gave you, this one is bigger than the little b side, which is not opposite an angle they gave you. Next, we're going to write out our law of sines that we've used already to solve for triangles. We're going to plug in what we know. So we know little a, we know big A, we know little b. We do not know big B. We also don't know little c or big C, but we can solve for those. So obviously the first thing we're going to do, I've already got squared off here. We've got to solve for this big B because we know every other variable except for that one, right? We know everything but the B, big B. So we're going to cross multiply that. So we're going to have 22 sine of B equals 12 sine of 42. And we're going to divide both sides by 22. Now, you may or may not be used to this. I know that we've done inverse a few times, but in order to get an angle by itself that's inside of a trig function, in this case, big B, since it's inside the trig function, you have to take the inverse sine of both sides and the entire of both sides. That will cancel this sine and you'll be left with just angle B. So big B is equal to sine inverse of 125 sine of 42 degrees over 22. Kind of a lengthy expression there. Next, I want to show you how you're going to plug this into your calculator. So the very first thing you need to do is make sure your calculator is in degrees. Again, I'm using Desmos, my calculator of choice. So I'm going to go to settings and click on degrees. Okay, next for the inverse, you can go to functions and then go to inverse and just click on sine inverse. Okay, so first we have 12 times sine of 42. So inside the parentheses, I'm just going to type in 12. And you don't have to put times. I'll put times. Times, go back to regular functions, sine of 42. Go outside of that and then divide by. And it actually doesn't matter whether all of this is, if the 12 is on top, because it's going to end up giving the same answer back. We have to divide by 22. Notice it's undefined right now. There's a reason for that. Okay, so we get 21.4. Okay, so that's going to be our big B. That's going to be our big B angle. Okay, it's going to be this angle right here, opposite little b. However, we want to be precise in our final answer, so you just want to We want to maintain this expression when we're solving for others, because we don't want to round this answer we just got. It will affect the precision accuracy of our final answer. So when we plug in big B from now on, we're going to keep that expression. This leads us to step 7. Step 6 was to solve for big B, the angle opposite little b. Now we're going to solve for big C. Why? Because we already know big A and big B. Now you can see that for big C, we're keeping big B the way it was when we plugged it into the calculator. Okay. Now I did simplify it a little bit. I put 12 over 22 is 6 over 11. But for the most part, but other than that, you do not want to round this to any decimals, just because it's going to affect, especially when you go to do further calculations, it's going to affect your answer. Now, I can quickly go back in and plug this into my calculator and just do 138 on the outside of this minus whatever that is. Okay, and that will give me 116.6 if we round to the nearest whole number. So that tells me that this angle right here is 116.6. That solves for my angles. Now I just have to solve for little c. Okay, so it's going to lead us to step 8, which is to determine little c. We're going to use the first and last part of law of sines, a over sine A equals c over sine of big C. Notice how I kept that entire expression, big C, not rounded. This is the way I want to plug it into my calculator. So now I'm going to cross multiply in order to solve for this. So we're going to have c sine of 42 equals 22 times all of that. So 22 times all that equals sine of 42 times c. In this case, little c. Then we're going to divide everything by 42. And, sine of 42. That way we can get little c by itself. And this is what we're going to be plugging into the calculator. Now, since I've already done this part, I might as well just expand on it, multiply all this by 22, and then divide by sine of 42. And that will tell me what little c is. So let's do that. The way I'm going to do that, first of all, I need to zoom out here a little bit. Okay. I'm going to put another set of parentheses in here. Again, I need to zoom out because I'm losing. Okay, so another set of parentheses out there. Then I will type in the 22, and I will divide all of this. So I'm going to hit my division sign. Make sure I'm plugging it in right by sine of 42. And again, make sure that your calculator is in degrees. And I did something wrong there. I know it's not that big of a number. Give me 1 second to check my work. Okay, so I was missing a sign right here. I just was able to pull up my expression and notice there needs to be a sign on the outside of that. And I'm going to double check again to make sure I have it plugged in right. And yes, and that's going to give me my little c, 29.4. And again, notice we did not round anything and plug it all in at once to get little c. It's another way to plug into your calculator if you're plugging it in straightforward without an app that kind of plugs it in the way you plug it in, which is why I like this most. So anyway, all of that we just saw for, you're just going to label the triangle accordingly, and that's it. There's only one solution for this, and again, that's because when you go back to the original problem, the side opposite the angle they gave you is bigger than the other side. That's it for law of sines. Side angle 1 solution. If you have any other questions about this, let me know.